When the dead come back, 5 bone-chilling true stories that haunt us today. It was a stormy night, lightning cracking across the sky like a warning. Shadows danced in the corners of old towns filled with whispers of the past. Some say this night was cursed. Can you feel it? The very air felt thick with dread, as if the earth itself had secrets begging to be uncovered. Are we alone? Or are the souls of those long gone watching us from their graves? At the heart of the town square stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. They say the tree has seen more horrors than a silent grave can hold. Just last week, a local delivery man swore he saw a figure beneath its leaves, a woman dressed in pale white, her face indistinguishable in the shadows. He felt his heart racing, a tightness in his chest as he chalked it up to an overactive imagination. But when he went back to check, there was nothing there. Just silence, heavy as a forgotten tomb. Then there's the old church, its bell tower looming over the town like a watchman of death. Rumors swirl about a funeral held there 100 years ago, a farmer buried with his cursed gold. Every night, it's said you can hear a soft clinking sound, like coins rolling on the stone floor. They say if you listen closely, you might even hear the farmer's anguished cries calling out for his lost treasure. A group of brave teens recently dared each other to spend a night there. They claimed to have seen flickering lights, and one of them, Emily, swore she heard a deep voice whispering her name. They never stayed to find out more. Who could blame them? And what about the mysterious disappearance of the bus that vanished in the fog just a month ago? It was last seen snaking through the twists and turns of Willow Creek Road. Days later, only the driver's cap was found, crumpled on the muddy roadside. The townsfolk murmured in hushed tones, glancing around as if the truth was lurking in the shadows, waiting to drag them down too. The fear lingered in the air, crackling like the storm overhead. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As night fell deeper, the townsfolk gathered around flickering campfires, eyes wide with tales of the strange and unexplained. Could it be? Were the dead truly restless, seeking vengeance or solace? Whispers of a ghostly figure resurfaced as an old woman recounted finding her husband's watch ticking on the grave, though he'd been buried for decades. How could time still flow for the departed? A chill ran through the crowd, the fear that maybe, just maybe, they were not as alone as they thought. But what if the unthinkable happened? The dead didn't just watch, they could come back. And what would they want? As the last ember glowed against the black sky, one question hung like a specter: are you brave enough to discover the truth about what happens when the dead come back? As the wind howled through the trees, a group of teenagers perched nervously on a crumbling stone wall outside the church. They had heard the stories, the warnings. Yet here they were, daring each other to make a night of it. Lizzie, the most fearless of the bunch, rolled her eyes at the other's shivers. "Simon, it's just a legend." "We'll be fine," she insisted, her bravado only half convincing. Just as they stepped closer to the church, the sky cracked open again, a flash of lightning illuminating the building in a ghostly light. For a moment, it seemed as if the shadows inside were alive, writhing like something just out of reach. The wind strengthened, and with it came an odd, clinking sound that drifted through the air like old coins rolling across the floor of a forgotten vault. "Did you hear that?" Jake whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "It's nothing," Lizzie replied, though she felt goosebumps ripple down her arms. They pushed open the heavy wooden doors, the creak echoing in their ears like a warning bell. Inside, the church was dark and cold, the air thick with the scent of decay. They set up their phones, screens illuminating the small space like flickering candles. As they settled in, Emily, the youngest, leaned against one of the wooden pews. "What if the ghost is real?" she fretted. "What if she just wants to talk?" The others laughed, but Lizzie felt a knot twist in her stomach. Something wasn't right. Time dragged slowly, with only the sound of their laughter punctuating the oppressive silence. In the distance, thunder rumbled ominously. Suddenly, the lights of their phones flickered, dimming as if responding to some unseen power. The clinking noise grew stronger, now distinctly echoing from somewhere beyond the altar. "Did you guys hear that?" Emily's wide eyes darted around the room, searching for a familiar face among the shadows. "I'm going to check it out," Lizzie said, standing up. Her heart pounded, but stubbornness drove her forward. The others protested, but she stepped away from the group, drawn to the altar. As she approached, the air shifted. She felt heavy, like she was wading through water. The clinking persisted, growing more frantic. As she reached the altar, she noticed something shimmering on the ground, coins, old and tarnished, scattered across the stone floor. "Guys!" She called out, but her voice wavered, swallowed by the darkness. The others rushed over, their fear palpable. Those look like real," Jake murmured, eyes wide. "What does this mean?" Lizzie knelt to pick one up, feeling its cold surface beneath her fingertips. Just then, a cold gust whipped through the church, extinguishing their phone screens and plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they fumbled to turn their devices back on. Then, from behind the altar, a shadow began to materialize, a figure cloaked in white. The atmosphere stilled, as if the world held its breath. It stepped forward, revealing a face twisted in anguish. "Help me," came a voice, hollow and echoing, as if it came from deep within the earth. The group stood frozen, hearts racing, terror flooding their senses. "What do we do?" Emily gasped, gripping Jake's arm. The figure, with its gaze locked onto Lizzie, extended an arm toward her. "Return what is mine." Lizzie staggered back, eyes wide. What did it mean? Before they could process the moment, the doors slammed shut. The sound resonated like a death knell. The power in their phones surged back to life only to reveal the haunting truth: the figure was no longer alone. Shadows swirled around the room, taking shape, forming a gathering that filled every corner, whispering secrets of the long-forgotten. The teens stood paralyzed, realization crashing over them like a wave. They had come seeking thrills, but now they might pay the ultimate price. As the echoes of the past closed in, Lizzie swallowed hard, preparing to confront whatever it was that had been awakened. What had they unleashed by disturbing the treasure buried within these solemn walls? Just then, a voice pierced the darkness. "You should not have come here." What consequences awaited them as they faced the restless spirits? And did they even stand a chance of escaping with their lives? The air thickened with dread as the figures shifted around the church, their presence dark and oppressive. Lizzie could barely breathe as shadows encroached, each one pulsating with a malevolent energy. Emily's fingers tightened around Jake's arm, nails digging in like they were clinging to the last flicker of light. "What do they want?" Jake whispered, his voice quavering. Lizzie's heart thundered in her chest. She barely had the strength to speak, but she somehow summoned a shaky breath. "Maybe they want the coins," she squeaked, eyeing the glimmering relics scattered on the floor. The spectral figures shifted again, drawn toward the offering like moths to a flame. Suddenly, one of the shadows broke free from the rest, gliding closer, its face grotesque and twisted, the features indistinguishable as if they were crafted from the very darkness itself. The figure raised its hand, and Lizzie felt that tight knot of dread double back on itself. The cold seemed to seep into her bones as the air thickened further. "Return what is mine," it rasped, and Lizzie's heart sank. It wasn't just a warning. It was a command that echoed through the room, bouncing off the cold stone walls. "Lizzie, don't," Jake started, but the words hung in the air like smoke. She wasn't sure why, but something deep inside her knew this would not end well. The coins. They were part of the mystery, perhaps even the key. Without thinking, she bent down to gather the coins into her hands, feeling their cold surfaces against her skin. As she stood upright, the dark figure loomed closer, its hollow eyes locked on her. The others looked on, fear written across their faces, silently begging her to stop. "I'll return them," she shouted, her voice cracking. In a desperate bid, she threw the coins at the ghostly figure. They scattered across the floor, clinking loudly in the suffocating silence. The moment the last coin landed, an eerie stillness settled over the space, suffocating in its intensity. "Foolish child," the figure hissed, its voice slicing through the suffocating silence. The energy shifted, the temperature plummeting. Lizzie felt icy fingers wrap around her wrist. Would they drag her into the abyss? Suddenly, the shadowy gathering surged forward, each ghostly visage merging into a tide of despair. Lizzie stumbled back against the altar, heart racing as she tried to make sense of it all. Was it the coins? Or was it that they had uncovered something far more sinister? Run! She screamed, her instinct taking over. The others didn't hesitate. They pushed past her, fear driving them toward the heavy doors. But they wouldn't budge. Every effort seemed futile, and the whispers grew louder, more frantic, filling the room like a rising storm. Help us! Set us free! Thunder cracked violently outside, shaking the very foundations of the old church. Suddenly, Lizzie felt something cold and dark seep into her mind. Secrets, memories of anguish and loss flooded her senses. Visions of lives cut short, betrayals, and pain poured into her consciousness, making her stagger. No! Stop! She screamed, sinking to her knees. The weight of the spirits bore down on her, until something deep within her surged a flicker of resistance. Leave us alone! Lizzie yelled, fighting against the tide of grief and anger. The shadows drew back for a heartbeat, and just then, a light sparked across her vision. A single beam illuminated the altar, revealing a flash of words carved into the stone, "Only in truth shall peace be found." In that moment of clarity, Lizzie realized the real challenge lay not in simply returning the coins but in unraveling the truth behind their haunting. But the quest would come at a price. What truth was she willing to uncover? As she stood to join the others, the spirits wailed in sorrow, the darkness swirling around them like a storm. Would they find the truth? Or would the church become their final resting place? The door rattled violently, and Lizzie felt the world around her shift yet again. Something was awakening, something far more powerful than they understood. What awaited them beyond that door? Would they escape, or was it too late to turn back? The door trembled violently, creaking as if it was straining against an unseen force. Lizzie's heart raced, each beat echoed in her ears like a warning siren. She could almost feel the cold tendrils of darkness wrapping tighter around them. Help us! Set us free! The whispers swirled, intertwining with the howling wind outside. Their urgency clawed at her mind, begging for understanding. What did they want from her? Why had they chosen this moment? Jake and Emily still struggled at the door, their panic evident in their frantic attempts to push it open. Sweat glistened on Jake's forehead, and Emily's eyes were wide with terror. It won't budge! Jake shouted, desperation lacing his voice. Stay back! Lizzie urged, feeling something deep inside tugging her toward the altar. The shadows wavered, as if sensing her movement, but the grotesque figure remained focused on her, drawing nearer, its sinister intent palpable. Foolish child, the voice reverberated, it was both a warning and a taunt. Lizzie clenched her fists, determination igniting within her. The coins scattered across the marble floor felt too important to just abandon. Why had she thrown them? Maybe they were more than just relics, perhaps they held the pieces of a shattered story. A quick glance at the altar showed the faint glow of the engraved words still illuminating the stone, "Only in truth shall peace be found." Was there a truth hidden within the shadows? Could she decipher its meaning before it consumed them? I'll find out what you want, Lizzie shouted defiantly. With shaky but resolute steps, she moved toward the grotesque figure. The air crackled around her, thick with tension. "Return what is mine," it hissed again, but the words felt different this time, rising like ice through her veins instead of the choking dread before. Lizzie frowned, taking one of the coins still in her trembling hand and holding it aloft. "What is yours?" she demanded. The figure halted, its hollow eyes flickering, and for a moment, all the other shadows receded, as if they were waiting for an answer. Lizzie's grasp tightened around the coin, noticing how it shimmered subtly, reflecting a sliver of the altar's light. "It isn't just about the coins," she blurted out, her voice rising above the murmurs. "You want something more, a truth." Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, and Lizzie felt the oppressive weight of their longing and sorrow crash into her like a tidal wave. Memories flooded her, images of despair, betrayal, and cries for justice echoed through her mind, sickeningly vivid. In that kaleidoscope of anguish, a distinct face emerged, a young woman with tear-streaked cheeks, reaching out for someone lost. "Release us!" The ghosts screamed in unison, their voices melding into a heart-wrenching chorus. "No!" Lizzie screamed back, her own resolve flowing from her mouth like wildfire. "Tell me what you need." Around her, the temperature began to shift again, the shadows hovering uncertainly. Could her willingness to understand stave off the relentless storm they summoned? "Help our souls," the grotesque figure rasped, the malevolence softening into something desperate. Lizzie's heartbeat slowed for a moment, the air feeling lighter. The unholy presence paused, allowing her words to sink in. Jake and Emily finally broke free of their panic, turning to Lizzie, their expressions shifting from fear to a shared recognition. They had to discover the story those spirits carried, the unlocking of the truth they all craved, but as they gathered their strength, Lizzie felt a sinister shift in the air. The whispers grew louder, clawing for her attention, while the shadows swirled hungrily. What if uncovering their truth brought more horror than relief? What if it's too late? Jake murmured, eyes darting back to the shadows. All their freedom hinged on a fragile thread woven with dark heritage. What truth lay waiting deep in the crypts of the church? As Lizzie took a deep breath, feeling the fear merge with resolve, she stepped forward once more. The spirits hovered at the edge of her reach, their pain echoing through her bones. And then, the ground beneath them trembled. Was the church itself awakening to remember what had been lost? Time was running out. The shadows craved the truth at what cost would it come? A new destiny awaited at the edge of the unknown, and it beckoned quite close now. The ground continued to tremble, the sound echoing through the crypt like an ominous drumbeat. Lizzie's heart pounded in sync with the vibrations beneath her feet. Each thud felt like a warning, a sign that whatever lay ahead was not just waiting, it was coming for them. "Lizzie, we have to go," Jake shouted, his voice tinged with newfound urgency, panic igniting in his eyes. The familiar comfort of their friendship did little to quell his fear now. "No," she snapped, shaking her head. "Not until I understand what they want." The shadows flickered, almost indecisive, as if caught between want and dread. "Tell me about the souls," she pleaded, raising her voice to pierce through the cacophony of whispers. "Let me help you." The shadows recoiled slightly, drawn back to their corners as if contemplating her offer. "Help us," she was taken. A chorus of disembodied voices floated through the air, chilling Lizzie to the bone. Images crashed in on her again, the woman with tear-streaked cheeks now more vivid, her outstretched hand frozen in time, staring imploringly into Lizzie's eyes. "Who took you?" Lizzie found herself asking, her voice slow and trembling. The grotesque figure loomed closer, its hollow eyes burning with a mixture of anger and sorrow, a reflection of the profound sadness hidden in the depths of the shadows. The whispers grew louder, a chaotic mix of sorrow and rage that surged around them like a frenzied windstorm. "A man brings darkness." The words curled around Lizzie, each word sharp as a knife. "The keeper of lies, he knows the truth." Fear snaked its way through her mind. Was this a riddle? Who was this man? An unsettling realization washed over her, the truth was shrouded not just in the past, but woven intricately into their reality as well. "What keeper?" She shouted over the growing roar, but it was as futile as attempting to silence a storm. The shadows surged forward again, wrapping around her with desperation. Lizzie could feel their cold despair pulse against her skin. It was suffocating, dark, and all-consuming. "Release us," they whispered, the multitude of voices blending into one anguished plea. "No!" Lizzie cried out, fighting against the energy that threatened to engulf her. "Not until you give me the truth." Suddenly, a sharp snapping sound echoed through the crypt, and just like that, silence fell. The shadows pulled back violently as though something had snapped their tether. In that haunting stillness, Lizzie glanced at Jake and Emily, whose expressions mirrored her own, fear mingled with determination. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, a figure emerged from the darkness. A man, tall and cloaked in shadows. His face obscured, but the malicious glint of his eyes pierced through. "So, you think you can help them?" His voice oozed with mockery, wrapping around her like cold barbed wire. "Who are you?" Lizzie demanded, her voice trembling but resolute. What do you want? The man took a step forward, the shadows swirling around him like a cloak of darkness. What is it you seek, child? The truth has a price and I am the keeper. Just like that, despair and dread ripped through Lizzie. If he was the keeper of lies, how could they ever escape the clutches of this nightmare? Jake! Emily! She shouted, stepping back instinctively as the man became a vortex of darkness, dragging her towards the void. At that moment, fear pooled in her stomach like a stone. The truth was so close, yet so far, and it could consume them all. The altar flickered ahead, the engraved words glowing ominously. Only in truth shall peace be found. Could they really face this keeper? Would the truth forge a path to freedom, or plunge them deeper into darkness? More tremors erupted from the church floor, threatening to swallow them whole. As the man grinned menacingly, the shadows began to swirl wildly once more. The time to act was fleeting. With a cry, Lizzie reached for the shimmering coin still clutched in her hand. I will know the truth. But as the darkness pulsed around them, she wondered, would knowledge set them free, or doom them forever? The answer lay tantalizingly close, just beyond the reach of the shadows. And with one last echoing rumble beneath her feet, the crypt seemed to hold its breath, waiting. What would Lizzie decide? The shadows writhed, and the room seemed to shudder with uncertainty. Lizzie's grip on the shimmering coin tightened as she fought against the pull of the darkness. Her heart raced. Was this the moment where everything would unravel? Lizzie, no! Jake shouted, lunging towards her, but the swirling darkness was too thick. It seemed to laugh as it ensnared her, a grotesque embodiment of fear that intoxicated her senses. It seeped through her skin, crawling into her lungs, choking her resolve. Release her! Emily screamed, her voice cracking, echoing back at them like the distant sound of a dying hope. Ah, but this is your choice, isn't it? The cloaked man hissed, his eyes glinting menacingly. The truth, it's a beckoning flame that can burn you beyond recognition. Lizzie felt heat rising in her chest, the coin pulsing in response. She knew she had to act or risk losing everything. What must I do? She gasped, the words barely escaping her throat, glancing back at her friends who were frozen in horror. Accept what you fear and know the truth. He extended a dark hand, the shadows coiling around his fingers like snakes. But remember, knowledge does not come free. It demands a sacrifice. Sacrifice? Lizzie echoed, the clarity of dread filling her heart. What could this man take that could be worse than losing herself to vengeance? They will reveal their fate, but you must choose. Will you stand with the living or join the dead? The shadows flickered again, and with a jolt, Lizzie found herself surrounded by visions. Faces emerged through the blackness, men, women, children, each one filled with anguish and sorrow. Help us! They cried, echoing in a heartbreaking chorus, their eyes hollow, reflecting the agony of lives interrupted. Tears stung her eyes as she realized these were the souls seeking release from their torment. They weren't just victims, they were part of a terrifying legacy, chained by their pasts. Their dreadful stories flooded her mind. What had happened to them? Lizzie! Focus! Jake shouted, breaking through her trance. We can't let him take you. The man laughed softly, sinister and cold. Oh, how noble! He turned to the shadows. Now, dear souls, tell her the truth of your fates. What do you desire? Freedom, their voices whispered like a gust of wind. To be remembered. Be careful. The man's voice dropped to a chilling tone. Your heart must be true, or you shall become what you fear. Lizzie, listen to me. Emily pleaded. We can find a way. Don't give in. But the allure of knowledge was powerful, a siren-esque call that lulled her into the depths of curiosity. She hesitated, fighting an inner battle as she weighed her friendship against the insatiable urge to uncover the truth. Tell me. Lizzie finally screamed, her voice ripped from her throat. I want to know their pain. I'll help them. The shadows surged again, wrapping around her tighter than ever. A rush of memories flooded her, visions of torment and despair that shattered her heart. They all begged for release, yet one voice pierced deeper, a haunting wail of a woman whose face stood out. "Find me!" And just like that, the shadows erupted in a cacophony of sorrow, crashing down around them like a tidal wave, consuming every shred of light. The crypt darkened, the air becoming thick with despair. As the world around her twisted and turned, Lizzie's breath caught in her throat. She was being pulled toward a vision, a glimmer of a woman reaching out, a soft glow surrounding her. In an instant, they were connected. Everything came rushing back: the altar, the whispers, the keeper of lies. Lizzie gasped, realizing the truth she craved was a double-edged sword, one that could liberate countless souls or shatter her own. Then she felt it, the life within the coin pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. It was as if the past and present collided, revealing a deeper connection to the keeper. "What have I done?" she thought, a mixture of dread and resolve washing over her. Just when the shadows threatened to drown her, they froze. Time stilled. The keeper leaned closer, teasing a smile that promised betrayal, whispering into her ear, "Welcome to the truth and the price you never saw coming. Are you ready to pay it?" The chilling urgency hung in the air, leaving Lizzie suspended between salvation and doom as the crypt held its breath once more. What would she discover? And was she strong enough to face whatever awaited on the other side? The question lingered, a burning knot in her stomach, waiting to unravel. Lizzie felt the keeper's breath cold and dark wash over her like a wave of ice. The shadows flickered, still waiting, leaving her no time to think. Panic clawed at her insides, fighting against the knot of courage she was trying to muster. She had asked for the truth, but what truth was worth the loss of herself? "Are you ready to pay it?" he hissed again, the promise of despair curling around his words. A haunting wail echoed, snagging her consciousness. The faces of the tortured souls pressed forward, their eyes wide, pleading. She could almost touch their despair. It felt like a thick mist enveloping her, suffocating. "No!" Jake shouted again, his voice cutting through the horror. A surge of adrenaline pushed him forward, breaking through the shimmering veil of darkness. "Don't listen to him, Lizzie. Fight it." But Lizzie's focus was waning. Every cry, every flicker of agony pulled her deeper. "What do I do? Please," she cried out, her voice trembling. "Embrace the truth." The keeper's command sliced through the chaos. "This is your moment, Lizzie. Reveal the sacrifice." His eyes shone with cruel anticipation. Emily's hands trembled as they reached out toward her. "We will find a way to bring you back. You aren't alone." Her words battled against the whispers of the past, offering a lifeline. Yet, even as hope flickered there, Lizzie's thoughts slipped away, swallowed whole by the demands of the dark. She could feel the weight of the coin, as if it were alive, urging her to delve deeper. "Don't let me go," she pleaded silently, her heart racing. Suddenly, a vision flashed before her where the darkness receded just long enough for her to see the woman, bathed in a surreal glow, reaching out with desperation. "Help me. You must find me." It was a plea steeped in urgency, intertwining with her own fragile hope. "What must I do?" Lizzie gasped, tears streaming down her face, fueled by a mix of fear and determination. "Accept the price, and you'll uncover their fates, their deaths, their causes," the keeper taunted, an unholy smile gracing his lips. "Are you willing to sacrifice what you love most?" A chill raced through her. What if loving Jake and Emily meant losing herself? The terror was palpable, squeezing her heart, but the shadows pressed in, clouding her vision with confusion and grief. "No!" she screamed. "I won't bring any more suffering." The coin's warmth pulsed wildly, as if responding to her defiance. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, revealing fragments of the past, images of torment and betrayal played like a film, raw and relentless, tearing at her soul. She witnessed lives stolen, hope extinguished, darkness consuming everything. "I can't bear this." Lizzie sobbed as the weight pressed down on her chest. A vision in the swirling shadows shifted again, revealing the woman's face, a reflection of her own. "You! It's you! A sacrifice must be made," the keeper whispered, his voice an echo of doom. "Stop!" Jake's desperate scream echoed, reaching for her. Thunder rolled through the crypt, rattling the stones, a sinister reminder of the tempest within. And just as Lizzie felt herself slipping from reality, the woman in the vision whispered softly, "Time is of the essence, Lizzie. The answers are buried, but only you can uncover them." With a sudden jolt, Lizzie's heart swelled with a mix of fear and determination. "I will not let fear rule me." The shadows howled back in response, furious and relentless. Something shifted, almost imperceptibly, causing her to look back at the keeper with newfound strength. "I may lose everything, but I won't give in." The shadows recoiled and a momentary clarity pierced through the darkness. She saw her destiny before her, and just as she began to step forward, the crypt roared with a force that nearly knocked her off her feet. The wind screamed, shadows flickered menacingly, and whispers collided in a chaotic symphony, a storm ready to unleash its fury. "Then embrace what you truly desire," the keeper taunted, darkness swirling violently around him. "But beware, the price you pay may be beyond your reckoning." The question hung heavy in the air. What would she discover? Was she truly ready for the truth that could shatter her world forever? And as the darkness surged once more, Lizzie's heart thundered in her chest, leaving only one certainty: she was on the brink of awakening something far more dangerous than she could ever imagine. Would she reveal the truth or become just another face in the crowd of souls lost to shadows? The tempest of shadows swirled violently, becoming a living thing, electrified with menace. Lizzie's heart raced as the weight of fate hung in the air. She was teetering on a precipice, a brink from which she might fall into unfathomable darkness. The keeper loomed before her, an embodiment of every fear she had ever faced, every doubt that had gnawed at her resolve. "Face it!" he bellowed, beckoning with a skeletal hand. "What do you value? Your friends? Your precious memories? What is it that you'll sacrifice to save them? Stop!" Jake shouted, desperation lacing his voice. He pushed against the swirling shadows, but the darkness held him back like a malevolent tide. Each step he took was met with crushing resistance, his face taut with fear. Emily reached for Lizzie, her eyes wide with a mixture of trust and terror. "We're here, Lizzie. Remember our promise to each other. You don't have to do this alone." But the keeper's laughter echoed, a dreadful cacophony that swallowed her hope. "Promises? Your friends can't save you from the truth. Only the price will bring you closer to the answers you seek." Lizzie trembled, the heaviness of the moment pressing down on her chest. She could see snippets of time through the shadows. Memories twisted and morphed, twisted until they threatened to crack her mind open. The lies she had upheld churned inside her like a storm, desperate to surface. "Show me!" she cried out, summoning the courage that flickered like a candle in a storm. "Show me what I need to sacrifice." The keeper's smile widened, revealing teeth that gleamed wickedly in the darkness. "Oh, very well, let the truth bind you. Let it reveal what you've desperately hidden." As if responding to his call, the air around Lizzie crackled. In an instant, images flashed before her, jagged scenes of war, sorrowful farewells, and foreboding faces she barely recognized. Her pulse quickened as she glimpsed the past, the truth she'd tried to bury. Then everything slowed. Time felt elastic, stretching on forever. Lizzie saw herself standing at a crossroads, visions folding in upon themselves like an origami nightmare. The woman in the fleeting glimpses was beginning to take shape for Lizzie. She felt a strange kinship. "Who are you?" Lizzie cried, her voice breaking with urgency. "I am you," the woman whispered, a phantom echo. "I am the part of you that knows the truth. The darkness must be faced, or it will consume you. There must be a way out." Lizzie shouted, her nails digging into her palms. Only through understanding can the spiral of despair be shattered. The keeper's voice was a chilling reminder that escape might serve only to deepen her torment. "What will you risk to save the souls entwined in your fate?" Thunder shook the crypt again, sending jagged light through the cracks of darkness. In that moment of violent turbulence, Lizzie glimpsed fragments of her friends, a bond forged under the weight of shared grief. Jake's fierce determination and Emily's unwavering love felt like a lifeline. "I won't lose them," she yelled defiantly, her breath caught in her throat. "I refuse to let darkness take anyone else." "Then embrace your truth." The keeper's voice rose in triumph. "Reveal to yourself your deepest fear, the ultimate sacrifice you would make for your loved ones. In that instant, the whirlwind of shadows divided and a sliver of light pierced through the chaos. Lizzie stared through it, recognizing now the faces of those she loved. Rage, sorrow, and an overwhelming sense of duty surged through her, but was she strong enough to bear the weight of their suffering? Would she be able to stand before the keeper and confront the darkness within herself, to truly understand the price of what it all meant? The air thickened as she took a deep breath, steeling herself against impending grief. Every fiber of her being screamed to turn back, yet she yearned to know how it would end. "Tell me," Lizzie howled, ready to embrace whatever came next. "What must I do to save them?" As the shadows coiled tighter, the keeperess grin grew. "Your time is short, Lizzie. Unravel the truth or watch as they slip away." And just when she thought she'd gathered the last of her strength, the ground beneath her lurched violently, and Lizzie felt herself falling into the unknown. What awaited her in the deep abyss? Would the sacrifice she faced unearth secrets too dark to bear? The answer lay just beyond her reach, as the darkness consumed her whole. Lizzie plummeted through the abyss, weightless and terrified as shadows whipped around her. The air buzzed with static, crackling like the moment before a storm. Her heartbeat echoed, loud and frantic, drowning out the keeperess' menacing laughter, which seemed to follow her into the depths. Then, as suddenly as she had begun to fall, Lizzie landed hard on a cold, damp surface. The air was thick and choked with sorrow. She gasped, struggling to regain her footing, and looked around. The shadows morphed into shapes, figures flickering in and out of existence like dying stars. Faces she recognized and others she didn't flashed before her eyes, each etched with despair. "Where are you?" Lizzie cried, her voice cracking. "Lizzie," a whisper floated through the gloom, wrapping around her like a shroud. "Jake?" She strained to see, but the shadows distorted reality. Panic surged as an icy grip settled in her chest. "Emily, is that you? Stand firm." Jake's voice sliced through the darkness, firm yet distant. "Don't be afraid." "Fear?" The keeperess' voice echoed again, chilling her bones. "Fear is a treasure here. It's the key to understanding your sacrifice." Lizzie's heart raced as her mind reeled. "What do you want from me?" She clenched her fists, the coldness biting into her skin. "To remember," the keeper said, voice silky yet harsh. "To face the chaotic truth of your past, to unearth why you feel shackled by regret." Around her, shadowy figures began to stitch themselves into scenes, memories swirling like wisps of smoke. Lizzie recognized the bright smiles of her friends during sun-drenched outings, but those cheerful moments quickly transformed into darker recollections: an argument with Emily, the betrayal of a hidden secret, the sacrifices made in silence that had cut cords of trust. "No," she murmured, tears welling up. "No, I did what I thought was best." "Best?" The keeper mocked, the shadows shifting ominously. "From what vantage? Was it truly for them? Or was it selfish fear that guided your hands?" The shadows surged with renewed strength, swirling around her like a cyclone of despair. Lizzie stumbled backward, clutching her head. Each memory jabbed at her, digging deeper, attempting to unearth the feelings she had locked away. "Stop. Just stop," she cried, frantically pushing against the waves of darkness, but it only pressed in tighter, squeezing her breath away. "Sacrifice!" The keeper roared, his voice rising above the howling winds. "What will you give? What will you risk to mend the bonds broken by your fear?" In that moment, the weight of her solitude hit her like a freight train. Was it too late? Tears streamed down her face as she thought of Jake and Emily, caught in entangled fates because of her choices. Could she really face the deepest fears hidden within her? Suddenly, a figure stepped from the shadows, steady and bright. "Lizzie! You are not alone." It was Emily, her voice a soothing balm against the chaos. "I can't hold this back anymore," Lizzie cried, finding strength in her friend's presence. "I'm so tired of running from my past." "Then face it, Lizzie. Show the keeper that your truth carries strength." The keeper recoiled, and Lizzie's resolve solidified. "I will not let you take them," she yelled, standing tall against the tide of darkness. "I choose them. I choose love." With renewed strength, she took a step forward, ready to confront the keeper, ready to unearth the monster within her, but as she did, the ground beneath her shattered like glass, sending her spiraling deeper. What lay ahead? Would Lizzie's courage to confront the keeper dispel the shadows, or would a darker truth await, forever entangling her fate with those she loved? The darkness shifted once more, teasing at the threshold, secrets unraveling just out of reach. The shadows danced ominously, swirling like a tempest whipping through the crypt. Lizzie's heart raced. She felt the weight of her choices pressing down harder than ever. What will I sacrifice? Echoed in her mind as she clutched the coin, its edges biting into her palm. The air thickened with despair, swirling around her in suffocating waves. Lizzie! Use your voice! Jake shouted from the void, fighting against the relentless ebb of dark whispers. Her friend's words stirred something deep within her. She had to confront the truth that haunted not just her, but countless souls trapped in this echo of sorrow. Keeper! She shouted, her voice ringing out with surprising clarity amidst the chaotic din. You think fear can control me? You think my past defines me? The darkness hesitated, swirling as if contemplating a shift. Your past is a chain, the keeper hissed, shadows inching closer, beckoning her to submit. But it can be your strength as well, if you embrace its burden. His eyes gleamed like obsidian, delighting in her struggle. No more, Lizzie answered, her voice stronger now. I choose to remember, to face my fears, and I will not let you have my friends. The shadows raged, crashing against the flow of her words like a storm against a cliff. Then something shifted deep inside her. Their pain surfaced like a tide, desperate for release. She recalled the arguments, the betrayals, and the misunderstandings, moments of weakness that had nearly broken her bond with Jake and Emily. But she remembered the laughter, the shared joys, the support they'd given one another, too. I understand. She suddenly proclaimed, anger and sorrow mingling. I've hidden from myself, tried to protect you by not confronting the truth. But you deserve so much more than my fear. The shadows flickered, wavering in her resolve as if unsure how to respond to the overwhelming sincerity of her words. The keeper's mocking grin faltered. What are you willing to sacrifice then? He demanded, a thread of irritation creeping into his voice. I sacrifice my fear. I free my love, Lizzie cried, gripping the coin tightly as she stepped forward. Around her, shadows hesitated, darkness shifting as if pondering the weight of her declaration. Help them. Help us find peace. She begged. Foolish child. The truth will blind you. The keeper sneered, but it was evident even to him that her voice carried power. The shadows began to shimmer, flickering as if they were contemplating the light burgeoning in Lizzie's heart, and then, like a light breaking through storm clouds, the air shifted. A surge of warm energy radiated from her, pushing back the shadows inch by inch. You'll never take them from me! She screamed, directing her will at the keeper. In that moment, a figure materialized amidst the fading darkness, the woman from her visions. Tears shimmering in her eyes, she reached out, a delicate hand brushing against Lizzie's. Help me find the truth, Lizzie. Help us all heal. Time seemed to freeze as Lizzie faced the woman. What must I do? The keeper's laugh echoed darkly, threatening to drown her spirit. But Lizzie stood resolute, unflinching in the face of despair. Uncover my torment, understand my pain, the woman pleaded, her ethereal glow illuminating some of the shadows still clinging to life. Only then can you be free. With a deep breath, Lizzie summoned all her strength. I will tell your story. She shouted into the void, her voice blending with the winds of change flowing through the crypt. One by one, the shadows began to shimmer and recede, retreating from the radiance encircling Lizzie. You all deserve to be remembered. And with that declaration, a wave of light erupted from Lizzie, engulfing the crypt. The whispers of countless souls merged together, weaving through misty memories, finally lifting the burdens they carried for so long. The heaviness began to lift, fading into the ether. The keeper howled in fury, his form dissolving like smoke in sunlight. You think you can escape? You've merely touched the surface. But Lizzie didn't listen. She only focused on the light, on the freedom. In her heart, she felt not just her fear dwindling away, but also an immense weight lifting from those spirits she had fought for. The room quaked beneath them, shadows fading, leaving only the warmth of release and love. The woman smiled through tears, illuminating Lizzie's path. "Thank you, my story lives on because of you." The darkness shattered, revealing the morning light streaming through the cracked stones of the church. Lizzie gasped, feeling a rush of radiant warmth. She turned to see Jake and Emily, illuminated by the glow, tears of relief in their eyes. "Lizzie!" they cried, rushing to hug her tightly, as sunlight cascaded around them, washing away the remnants of the night's horrors. "I thought I'd lost you," Jake exclaimed, clinging on in palpable relief. Lizzie's heart swelled with gratitude. "We're okay now. We freed them." The townsfolk, drawn by the radiant glow, slowly gathered around, their faces filled with awe and wonder. The old church, once a place of despair, now shone brightly with hope. And as they stepped forward together into a new dawn, Lizzie whispered, "We carry their stories now, we must remember." In that moment, they all became the keepers of light, the champions of truth, connecting their past with the promise of a future, forever entwined. Don't miss a second of this journey. You need to subscribe now to stay in the loop with more exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm and show your support. Your engagement makes all the difference. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your thoughts. What do you think happened to Lizzie? Do you have your own theories? Let us hear them. Instantly share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how courage and love can conquer even the darkest of fears. We appreciate every true fan that supports our community. Don't wait even one more second to make your voice heard.